Hello and welcome to New Mexico Rising. You know, each and every week, Abby and I talk to people across the country about things we could do right here in New Mexico. And on this week's show, we got this.
We understood that police officers and firefighters had to be doing what they could exclusively do, so we took on other tasks. We helped with things like points of distribution, where in places where the electricity was turning off, we were distributing ice, and in some cases, water.
All of that and more right here on New Mexico Rising.
January 21st is the National Day of Racial Healing, and a day to focus on unity and building understanding across differences. It's an important reminder that the work of racial healing doesn't stop after just one day. It's something we need to continue throughout the year. And joining us today to share ideas on how to bridge divides and create stronger communities is Carlos Rangel, Chief Investments Officer at W.K. Kellogg Foundation. Carlos, thanks for being here.
Hi, Abby. It's great to be with you and your audience. Thank you so much for having me.
What is the National Day of Racial Healing, and why is it so important for our country today?
So racial healing, it's an invitation to have an open dialogue and create closer relationships with people in your community. It is really important today because it is that continuation of Dr. King's vision of a country where we could all sit at the table as equals and be judged by the content of our character and not the color of our skin, which we think is as relevant as ever today.
And with such division in our country, how can we begin to bring people together and find common ground in our own communities?
So this is the 9th year that we're celebrating the National Day of Racial Healing, and the foundation's been doing this racial healing work well before that. And what we have found is that there's a methodology for helping people come together and bridge divides that may be harming their communities. So the first one just starts with the self, and how do you identify your own story, your own history, so you're able to have a conversation that shares your point of view, your experiences, particularly when it comes to topics such as race and discrimination. The second one's around how to have others then tell you their story, and for you to be able to listen with empathy, with an open mind, and remain curious and engaged, especially when the points of view may be challenging or different from yours. And that type of dialogue and interplay helps build a trusting relationship that's based in this type of communication. And it is that level of trust and closer relationship that helps us heal from the harm that racism causes to all of us.
And what is the W.K. Kellogg Foundation doing to support racial healing? And can you share some examples of success that you've seen?
Yeah, so the foundation continues to work on finding ways to bring people together, particularly when we have different points of view. So in this National Day of Racial Healing, there'll be 7 different events in New Mexico for different types of audiences. There'll be a teen summit, there'll be events for children, there'll be event for adults. And the goal is to, again, foster that sense of unity and connection. The foundation also created a website, dayofracialhealing.org, where parents, family members can find action guides where they can have guided conversations, whether with their family, it could be at their kid's school, it could be our place of employment. So in different settings, how can you have constructive conversations about the division that racism may cause and help bridge that divide?
And one more time, where can people go to find more information?
Yes, people can go to dayofracialhealing.org, where they'll find action kits and conversation guides.
Carlos, thanks for joining us today.
Thank you so much, Abby. Great to be with you today.
Have you seen the heartbreaking images from the Southern California wildfires? It's an ongoing crisis, and many of us are looking for ways to help. And there is one organization leading the charge. It's a veteran-led nonprofit, Team Rubicon. So joining us now from Los Angeles is their CEO, Art de la Cruz. Good morning, Art. How are you, my friend?
I'm doing fine, thank you. Thanks for having me, Dan.
Let's start off. I was in California when the fires were going on. I was down south. You could see the smoke. It was in my lungs. And I have friends that have lost everything, a couple of them. Can you share some specifics on what you guys at Team Rubicon is doing right now and how you're trying to help prepare and help out LA?
Yeah, you probably felt it and saw it and, smelled it as the smoke and the fires were there. Team Rubicon is really concentrating on supporting the people who have to contain and extinguish these fires. So that's our starting point. We understood that police officers and firefighters had to be doing what they could exclusively do. So we took on other tasks. We helped with things like points of distribution, where in places where the electricity was turning off, we were distributing ice and in some cases water, in areas where the firefighters had to move, to be on the front lines. They weren't there to help their community that wasn't impacted by fire, but was impacted by wind, and we were removing debris. And now, we're joining the California National Guard, police officers and sheriff's departments at these access points to make sure that the people who are beginning to return to their neighborhoods, understand the process in front of them and understand, the dangers that are there in the ashes and the soot by giving them information and again, aiding these incredible servants.
And your organization has a ton of veterans, including yourself. What unique skills do you think that they're bringing to disaster relief efforts?
Yeah, I think every military veteran, brings unique skills from their, education and their experiences. And it starts day one of boot camp. And it's not because they become a pilot or an infantryman. It's because they understand how to lead teams. They understand how to make decisions. They understand how to be safe. Those are all things that are really critical as communities face disasters and as people begin to move forward. So we can stand, and speak a similar language to those first responders, understand what we can do, and do it in a manner that's effective and safe.
So why do you feel that it's so important for volunteers like yours to step in and support first responders?
If you put yourself in the boots of a firefighter, they've been working through pretty tough terrain. They've probably gotten 1 or 2 hours of sleep. They're really, really strained, and they've done it for, well over a week. So this is the moment where we very specifically look at, how can we help them by taking things off their plate, just like we did, during COVID, when our focus was making sure that doctors can do doctor stuff, So in these moments of time, look at those heroes and go, how can I make their lives easier? Or how can I give them, respite from the incredibly important work that they're doing? And those are how we, start aligning our tasks in these initial moments after a disaster.
Hey, I'm getting only like 1 to 2 hours of sleep, and I got the cushiest job in the world. I can't even imagine having to deal with a crisis. What steps do you feel are next for this wildfire response?
We have a general idea of, next steps. Some of them are actually preparing for the next disaster. These burn scar areas are prone to mudslides. So we're in discussions about, sandbagging, because we know February is the month of rain in Los Angeles. We understand that there's just the number of complex problems that have to be solved, from children getting back into schools to moving materials to the places they need to be. We can contribute in those fashions, and we'll do what we traditionally do, in the months, in years to come, and helping, where we can to rebuild. So a lot in front of these communities, a lot in front of the people who've survived and, lost homes, et cetera. And, we hope that we can contribute, to their recovery and speeding up that recovery.
And people really want to pitch in, but sometimes good intentions can go wrong and does go wrong. What are some of the do's and don'ts for helping out during a crisis just like this?
Yeah, the sea of goodwill and the flood, and outpourings of support can cause a lot of problems. We're actually experiencing a bit of the second disaster, and that's donated goods. Someone's going to have to sort through these shirts and shoes and clothing, when it could have been a cash contribution. So for people out there who are doing what they're supposed to, which is helping their neighbor, cash is king. Your time and your energy, if you're willing to volunteer, are really, really amazing. And finding right organizations to donate to, if you go to trusa.org, you'll find opportunities to ensure that, even if you're not in the disaster area, that you can contribute to that recovery or prepare people to respond in the next disaster.
One more time, where can our viewers go to get involved, offer support, and share some love with Team Rubicon?
TeamRubiconUSA.org is one. And I'd ask you take a look at that, not just from donating and volunteering, but also for making your own preparations for the hazard that might be there, from fires to hurricanes. Let's all be ready so we're not a part of the next disaster.
Art de la Cruz, you truly are a hero. Thanks for joining us this morning.
Thanks for having me.
Have you ever wondered if our system is serving everyone? Today we have Brad Rourke from the Kettering Foundation and Ellen Maese, research director from Gallup. They have teamed up on a research project looking at how Americans feel about democracy. Thank you both for joining us.
Thanks for having us today.
Thank you so much.
Brad, can you explain what the Kettering Foundation does and how this research fits into your mission?
Yeah, thanks for asking, Abby. The Kettering Foundation is a nonprofit, nonpartisan operating foundation, and we're based in Dayton, Ohio, with offices in Washington, D.C., and we focus on advancing inclusive democracy and understanding better how it can thrive. And that's what this research is really getting at. The American satisfaction with democracy is at a critically low point. It's been getting that way for decades, and there's disagreement and division over why that might be. So there really is just no better time, we think, than now to begin asking the kinds of questions that we want to get at through this nonprofit and nonpartisan research, which is designed to get at everyday Americans' daily lives and how that affects their understanding of this democracy that we all share and live in. So we want to get at people's hopes, their frustrations, their sense of opportunity, their understanding of community, and how that affects their feelings about our democracy.
And what is the Democracy for All project about, and why is it so important now?
Yeah, democracy is, it's been growing and evolving and changing for centuries, and so this research is designed to really get at people's understanding of democracy, and different people have different meanings that they ascribe to it, different definitions, and so what we want to do with this work is get past the textbook definitions and ask a different set of questions, which we think are critically important. And those are questions that get at people's sense of inclusion and how included do they feel about democracy and in democracy. So is my voice heard, and does it matter? Am I treated fairly? If I have a problem, will my community step forward to help me? And how willing am I to step forward and help others in my community? We think those day-to-day experiences and values really are going to undergird and affect how people understand and feel about the democracy that we live in.
And Dr. Maese, how is Gallup collecting this information, and what do you expect to find?
Right. Well, this will be a nationally representative survey of Americans. And, the point of this survey is really to give all Americans the opportunity to have their voices heard as part of conversations about democracy. This is our opportunity to make sure that everyone's voice matters when it comes to how things are going in this country and really where it's going for the future as well. We have this opportunity to reach out and make sure that the experiences of everyone matter and make a difference. And that's what we're trying to do here. It's also our way of being able to track the evolution of democracy as it takes shape. So we'll be using annual measurements to make sure we have a pulse on what's going on in this country. Find out where are we making meaningful improvements that are having real impacts on everyday Americans' lives, but also where are there emerging challenges that we need to be aware of and get ahead of and address in order to keep this democracy strong and thriving.
What might the research tell us about Americans who feel left out of the process?
The first thing we need to get a sense of is who is feeling left out of the process. We know that there are Americans out there that feel that they're just not being heard. They're not feeling valued or respected or taken seriously in this country. They don't feel like the system is really working for them. It's not representing their views, their needs, and their experiences. We need to figure out who's feeling that way and why. What about our culture right now is making people feel that they're not a part of our democratic system, a system that was built to include and represent everyone? So getting a sense of where these differences lie is going to be the first step. The second step is figuring out where there are shared experiences and points of unity that we can use as a rallying point to bring everyone together and rebuild a sense of confidence and trust and belonging in our democratic system.
And where can people learn more about the project's findings?
People can learn more at gallup.com/democracy, where there's an announcement and information on the project. And in the fall, we'll be releasing a major report that goes into detail about what we're learning and kicks off a conversation about what that means.
Thanks, you two, for joining us today.
Thanks so much for having us.
Thank you so much.
I think it's time to send out a SOS. All right, let the music play, because we're about to hit the rink right here, right now. And it feels like the gift of Christmas came early. And if this sounds like me, then you know we're geared up for some serious competition. I might even pour a little cider and Hennessy to toast what's about to go down. So we're entering the battlefield of skating, where it's like 1990 forever. And just for you, we've got not one, not two, but 3 incredible judges from Roller Jam. Are you ready for the roll call? First up, we have the legend himself, the roller skating OG from Venice Beach, Terrell Ferguson, Grammy Award-winning artist Jordan Sparks, and my absolute favorite guest, and this is serious, I can't help but interview him at least once a year, the iconic Johnny Weir. How are you 3?
That intro.
That was the best intro ever.
Warmed the cockles of my heart. With
Yes,
goodness
my
me.
face hurts from smiling so big.
Love songs to Jordan Sparks.
Insider.
Yes, that's my Christmas album. He got everything in there.
Yeah.
Thank you.
I tried. I got a little prepared this week. And also, I did bring my skates. And in honor of Johnny, I got a tiara up right there. Boom. This is my legit tiara too. So let's get into this. Roller Jam. It seems like a blast. How do you guys compare some of the other massive stages you've been on? And what surprised you most about this new roller skating world? Jordan?
Yes. Man, well, okay. So it's a lot of fun to be able to do this job. Honestly, I don't know if I could call it a job because we had so much fun. But we have been at the top of our respective fields, and we've been in entertainment for a long time. So we have a lot to give and a lot to share with these contestants. This is the biggest roller skating competition, the first of its kind. It's never been done before. So it's exciting. It's fun-loving. It's heartwarming, it's educational at the same time. There's so much that I didn't know about skating that I know now, but it's really, really amazing, and I'm glad that I get to be the referee between these two guys.
All right, Johnny, you've mastered the ice, now you're working on the roller rink. What's the biggest challenge for these skaters when it comes to impressing you as a judge?
Well, my experience as a performer was at the highest of highs for any athlete at the Olympic Games, performing in sold-out arenas all over the world. So I was looking for the crews to kind of step out of just performing in their local rink and going big. I mean, there's $150,000 of prize money on the line, plus $10,000 that goes to their local rink. So they had to bring it and be better than they ever have in their lives. So I was looking for that. I was looking for the choreography, the emotion, the movement, the expression of each individual crew. We skated through the eras, 60s until now, musically, and we had different guest judges. Like, there was just a lot going on, and I wanted to make sure that they were able to give the best of themselves. But I very much was like Mama Bear on the panel. Sassy Pants over there with his technical critiques was definitely the sassy one.
I am not the sassy one. I am the coach. I'm the Phil Jackson, because they were phenomenal athletes. And so, like Michael Jordan, Tom Brady, Magic Johnson, Kobe Bryant, they needed a coach to guide them. And if you wanted this 150 grand, you needed someone to guide you and point you in the right directions. And that was all my critiques were.
You guys did great.
He was sassy.
And Terrell, you've seen like roller skating evolve over the years, especially starting in Venice Beach. What do you think makes Roller Jam stand out in the history of roller skating competitions?
Well, because it's the first. I mean, you have to stand out when you're the first. It's literally the first of its kind national skate competition that's been televised. And we have 2 great networks, Max and Magnolia, that are really giving it the push and the pampering and the love that it deserves, and bringing out, to me, what's one of the greatest sports ever. I mean, I thought I was going to be an NBA basketball player when I was young, but being 6 feet, skating worked out much better. And I'm taller in skates.
Yeah.
And I really like how they organize this. You guys all have unique backgrounds in performing and competition. What's it like watching these skate teams create their own routines Do you guys ever see yourself in their passion, their creativity?
Yes, I mean, I definitely think we all can relate. We do the same thing. I mean, especially Johnny, he's had to do, well, and you as well, actually.
All of us.
I haven't had to come up with choreography. I play around and stuff like that, but I haven't had to do that. Huh?
You got a wiggle?
I know, I got a little something. But, you know, it's different when you take somebody from their comfort zone, right? Their local rink or Venice Beach or wherever they, you know, feel the safest performing. And then you bring them in front of lights, cameras, judges, different types of taping. There's just and a live audience. Like it's a whole other ball game in that way. And I feel like with my competition background on Idol, I feel like I was really able to relate to the contestants, being able to stand next to them and go, look, I've been in your shoes. And if you get a no, that is not the end of your career or the end of your journey. That you just pivot. So there can only be one winner in shows like this, and it was really beautiful to watch the camaraderie that they all had. Because even though skating, it can be an individual sport, it can be a crew sport, there's a huge community across the country, and they all support each other. And we really wanted that to come through on this show as well.
It's a feel-good competition show. You don't step away feeling overly tense. You know that whoever's going to win is a well-deserving crew.
Yeah.
You were super compassionate, too.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
When I made them cry, she
she picked them up.
Thank you three for hanging out with me this morning. You really made my day. To catch all the action and see which team rolls their way to victory, make sure to tune in to Roller Jam. It's streaming on Max with new episodes every Thursday, so you better not miss it. Jordan, Johnny, Terrell, love you all. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thank
you made my day too. I'm gonna have to. I need that intro for the rest of my life now. Thank you.
Thank you, Dan.
You're welcome.
Thank you.
Did you know that nearly 50,000 Americans live with a form of dwarfism called achondroplasia? It's not just about height, there could be health complications too. Dr. Clayton K. White from the Children's Hospital, Colorado is here to explain what achondroplasia is and why early intervention can make a difference. Welcome, Dr. White.
Yeah, thank you for having me.
Dr. White, please explain achondroplasia and how it impacts a person beyond short stature.
Yeah, well, achondroplasia is the most common form of short-limb dwarfism. It results from a change in one of the genes that mediates growth of our skeleton, primarily the arms and the legs, and to a lesser extent, the spine. And this genetic difference results in an average stature of about 4 feet 4 inches in males and just over 4 feet for women. Most people with achondroplasia live happy and productive lives, but for many tasks, they do rely on adaptive equipment for activities of daily living, such as driving, shopping, or for other forms of self-care.
What common misunderstandings do you see about achondroplasia or dwarfism in general?
Well, so the misconception is that simply being short is in itself a disability, while the reality is that adults are shorter than average in stature. They tend to do quite well in the world, living their daily lives, much like you and I. They work jobs, they have families and friends, and go through the world like everyone else.
Which health problems often accompany achondroplasia, and how can they be addressed?
Yeah, I think the most important health problems are around the spinal cord and nerve compression. For infants, they can develop life-threatening spinal cord compression, which results in sudden infant death syndrome, which has been measured to be as high as 7% in babies with achondroplasia. And so they need to be seen very early and monitored closely for this condition. As they grow up, they can have more frequent ear infections, other ear, nose, and throat conditions. They can have bowing of their legs. They can have some spine problems. And then as adults, again, the nerve issues come back, and due to narrowing of their spinal canal, they have compression of the nerves. They leave the spine, which, if left untreated, can lead to long-term weakness and disability and sometimes pain.
And for parents or caregivers, what should they do if their child has been diagnosed with this condition?
Well, first and foremost, they need to establish care with an experienced healthcare team. Then it's our job to reassure those families that their child may not grow to be as tall as some of their peers. They will still have a very happy and active childhood, but they do need to be monitored closely so that we can ensure that any health situations that we've already outlined get addressed as they need to be addressed so that we can maximize their potential both as children and as adults.
Where can families go to learn more or get resources?
Well, first and foremost, I would always ask families and patients to contact their local healthcare provider. But here at Children's Colorado, we have a robust website with excellent educational materials. Alternatively, they can go to Little People of America online, or they can visit risinglove.com, a nice resource provided to us by BioMarin.
Dr. White, thank you for joining us today.
Thank you for having me.
Small town secrets, larger than life characters, and a story that's kind of bizarre. It only could be true. Netflix's The King of Tupelo, a Southern crime saga, takes us on a roller coaster ride through Mississippi's wildest scandal. So joining us this morning are Emmy award-winning directors Chapman and McLean Way, here to talk about the inspiration behind the Stranger Than Fiction documentary. Welcome to the show, you two. How are you?
Doing great. Thanks for having us on. We're excited to talk about this one.
Yeah, super pumped today. It came out this morning on Netflix, so thanks for having us on, Dave.
Like, congratulations, you two. I'd be elated. If I had anything released on Netflix, I'd be like, yeah, it's Netflix day.
Yeah, it's super easy to recommend to people. You know, most people have it. It's easy to watch. And so, yeah, it's always fun for family and friends and just for people at large to be able to see our work. We're super, super excited.
All right, let's get to it. Tupelo seems like the perfect backdrop for a story like this. What made you decide to kind of bring this story to life?
Yeah, we had like a very vague recollection of this story from 2013 where, you know, an Elvis impersonator was arrested for sending a deadly poisonous letter to President Barack Obama in an assassination attempt and was arrested. And, you know, we flew out to Tupelo in the 2021, met with Paul Kevin Curtis, the man who was initially arrested, and quickly realized there was a whole lot more to the story than was reported at the time. You know, it involved severed heads and the black market organ trade and this conspiracy involving congressmen and senators and kind of just one jaw-dropping turn of events after the other.
When making a documentary, what was like one of the most surprising or challenging things that was unraveling while investigating this tale?
Yeah, I mean, it was a little bit of a disorienting experience to go down this rabbit hole. You know, this story starts almost with a manageable scope, right? Just Tupelo, Mississippi, birthplace of the king, Elvis impersonator Paul Kevin Curtis. And he starts to go down this kind of conspiracy rabbit hole, primarily related to the concept of a black market body parts organ trade.
All right, thank you two for joining me this morning. I guess never send death threats to presidents. I guess that's one takeaway that I learned today. Okay.
It's a good rule to live by, not a bad one to live by.
All right. Check out The Kings of Tupelo. It's Tupelo, right? I'm saying this wrong. I feel bad every time.
Oh, no, yeah, you got it. That was me, but no sweat.
Good. All right. Check out The Kings of Tupelo, and it's available now on Netflix. Thank you, too, for joining me this morning, my friends.
Thanks so much.
Really fun. Thank you.
That is it for New Mexico Rising. I want to thank you for tuning in and checking out the show. If you actually want to be on the show, email me. That's newmexicorising@gmail.com, or go to our website. That's newmexicorising.com to learn more. Follow us on social media, and make sure you follow us on YouTube. And until next week, that was New Mexico Rising.